Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel CZ.FitHair, and I hope you guys are doing well. So in today's video I'm going to be going over 5 things that I wish I knew before I started weight training, and 5 things that you guys need to know before you start your journey, or even when you're in your journey. 5 top tips that are really going to help you here. These 5 things are 5 things that I have learned through my own journey, but also having have worked with so many females across the world, with all my clients, I've realized that there are some common things that do come up, and these are the 5 tips and the 5 core principles that I always try to make sure that I drill into my clients, because I know that once you have this understanding, it's going to make your journey so much easier, both physically and mentally. So the first thing that I wish I knew, and something that I always remind my clients, is that building muscle takes time, ladies, okay? I think it's so easy to get carried away with what we see on Instagram, on social media, people's, I don't know, 1-year transformations, 90-day transformations, and the thing is, you don't really know much context with their transformation. You see a photo, a before and a after, and you know, that's all you know. You don't know their genetics, their training history. Perhaps they, you know, dedicated their whole entire life to their training, and perhaps they're a competitor, perhaps they're enhanced, they're on PEDs. Speaking from someone who knows the fitness industry, a lot of people, a lot of social media influencers that you see are not natural, okay? So we simply cannot be comparing ourselves and our journey to what we see on social media, because it is a highlight reel and you do not get the whole picture, okay? There's many instances where I'm gonna say, you know, I take a photo at the gym after a long workout and I'm like, holy crap, my muscles look 10 times bigger. This lighting is insane. I don't look like this in real life, but this gym lighting is incredible, and I'm gonna take a photo because I'm pretty proud of the work I put in to look after my body. I'm proud of the progress I've made, and I might as well use some good gym lighting, right? But the thing is that when I post that, maybe you guys are out there being like, holy crap, like, how does she achieve that body? Like, this has been maybe 2-3 years of training. Like, I've been doing that. Why do I not look like that? And it's like, again, you do not know the context. You don't know the lighting situation. You don't know whether it's after a workout or before a workout. Like, there are so many things. So please do remember that building muscle is really, truly going to take time, especially as a natural female. Like, it does take consistency. It does take mastering the mundane. Another phrase that I have told plenty of my clients, essentially what it means is that we need to understand that it's not always going to be exciting, okay? Like, doing squats up and down, all these reps every week, it gets to a point where it's a bit mundane, right? Like, come on, when you think about it, you go into the gym and you do the leg extension, it's just up and down, you know, like there's not much change. But when you do that over time, that's how you build muscle and that's how you progress. It's like when you think about a soccer player, or I don't know, an artist, a pianist. What do? They do the exact same thing every day, but that's how they've become experts. That's how they've made progress, because they have mastered that mundane. So please do understand that it's going to take time, and it is going to take consistency, and it's not always going to be exciting and fun. The second thing that I wish I knew, and again, something that I preach to all my clients, and I think a big learning outcome for them when they join, is that food is fuel, right? And I know, again, it is so much easier said, and you know, we see all over like Instagram sometimes food is fuel, blah blah blah, but it's sometimes still hard to apply to ourselves, right? And there's sometimes always that inner thought of, oh, I think I'm eating too much. Like, can I be eating this much bread? I don't think pasta is good for me, right? Like, I understand, because I think, you know, growing up as young females, we are influenced by what we see on social media, and it is very hard to break out of that mental cycle, and I guess that mental barrier between you and food, and just trying to understand that you can eat more. So understand that if you are wanting to build on muscle, if you want to tone up, which means you do need more muscle, girls, you are going to have to eat enough to build muscle, to recover. Like, food is going to fuel your sessions, is going to help your body recover and rebuild the muscle fibers that you have torn through resistance training. But in saying that, you do get people on the other spectrum, so people who are like, oh, I'm building muscle, so I need to eat more, and then they eat like 10 times more than they really need. And you know, I think deep down you know that you don't need that much food and you're kind of taking the piss, but because you're not exactly sure how much to be eating, it's almost like a good enough excuse just to have like all these different cheat meals and go out every night because you're bulking. And eventually what I see is a lot of people end up pretty uncomfortable with their body fat and how they look and feel, and it's not very healthy, right? If you're just gonna go into this massive bulk because you're trying to build muscle and you end up neglecting your nutrition and you just end up, I don't know, having all these cheat meals and takeouts and greasy foods because you're bulking, essentially dirty bulking. I know a lot of guys do that, but I think, you know, it's important to understand that you do need food. Food is fuel, but there's also amount where you don't need more of, right? Like there is a really sweet spot where you are building muscle, you are recovering, your body's in a good place, you're fueling it enough, and then just stay in that sweet spot. Like there's no need to over push it and have an excessive amount of calories and just make yourself feel blah. So do keep that in mind. Now, number 3 is form. Okay, something else that I am very picky about, form. If you are finding yourself going into the gym 5 times a week, 4 times a week, however many days you are training, and you're like, I spend so much time at the gym, it's like an hour, 2 hours every day, but my progress is just so slow. I'm just not seeing results, and I don't know why. Like I feel like the amount of effort and time I'm putting in does not equate to the results. The thing that you're probably lacking is proper form. This is something I struggled with. I watched Instagram videos, I watched people on YouTube, and the thing is that you don't know whether someone's performing with good form. A lot of things you see on Instagram, a lot of people performing exercises, they're not doing so with great form. It's a bit trash sometimes. And they post it and they're like, oh, this is my favorite glute building workout, and it's like really pathetic exercises with poor control, poor form and all of that. Look, form is going to make or break your progress, okay? I'm not saying that you're not going to make some progress with slightly poorer form, but you're also going to risk injuring yourself. And it gets to a point where if your newbie games are gone, like you really do need to make sure that form is on point. And form encompasses a lot of different things, right? Like I look at tempo, so how are you controlling your movements? Are you, for example, if you're squatting, are you just going up and down, up and down, up and down really quickly through the motions? Or are you controlling the way you're coming down, pausing at the bottom, making sure to keep your muscle under tension for a significant amount of time so that it actually is stimulated to grow? So a lot of different things come into play when we talk about form. The key thing that I see a lot of beginners struggling with, even intermediate people who have tried things themselves, is that their form is actually not very on point. And that is why you're going to see slow progress, because you're not actually utilizing the correct muscle groups all the time, right? You're not actually making full use of every rep or every minute at the gym. And look, like if you are going to the gym an hour, 2 hours every day, 5 days a week, if you're not making use of all those hours, you're kind of not being very efficient with your time. And again, something I struggled with my squats, with my hip thrust. I was ego lifting. I was like, I can hip thrust 150 kgs, but now I watch back my videos and like, bless me, I was just like, I don't even know what I was doing. I don't know how I was getting the weight up. I think I was using my like whole body. And now I do 150. Like I took down all my weights. I went down to the basics. I literally went so lightweight. And yeah, my ego did not like it. I felt embarrassed. I was like, oh God, I can do more. I can do more. But I could do more with poor form. And when I actually reduced my weight and focused on proper form, technique, control, I saw the most progress in my glutes. And now I've worked my way back up to over 150 kgs, but because I have worked on that form, I can perform over 150 kgs now with proper form, so that I feel it in my glutes and I know that I'm controlling every rep. And even till this day, I still record my sessions so I can watch back, because I know that there's always room for improvement, right? Like that is the beauty of being human. You know, there's always ways that we can improve. Hey guys, so not sure where I left off, but my camera overheated because New Zealand right now is scorching, so I thought I would just have a little mango break, but I am back now until my camera overheats again. Anyway, so what I was saying was form is so important. It's like, you know, when you're baking cake, if you have a poor recipe and you're using really poor ingredients that have expired, your cake is not going to rise regardless of how many times you try to bake it. If you use the same recipe, the same shitty recipe, you're going to have a very deflated, probably dry as looking cake. So that is the third thing that I wish I knew earlier, was how important form is, to not ego lift it, to actually make sure that I knew that my form was correct and I had those foundations in place. Talking about form, the fourth thing that I wish I knew was progressive overload, and actually understanding what it meant to progressively overload. So there are a lot of different ways to progressive overload. It's not just with the weights you are using. And before we go into all the different forms of progressive overload, again, form first before progressively overloading, okay? Another thing that I didn't realize, I was just like, oh, I can lift heavy, I'm just gonna go as heavy as possible, but my form wasn't there. Firstly, nail form and then focus on progressive overload. So now when we talk about progressive overload, there are different ways we can measure this, okay? So number one is increasing your intensity. So this could be, you know, increasing the weights you are lifting, but other ways include supersets, drop sets, where essentially you're performing an exercise at a certain weight. You get to a point where you can no longer perform any more reps at that weight, and then you drop the weight slightly and you keep on going, and those burn so bad. Muscle rounds, this is something I love prescribing to my clients for their hip thrusts. So muscle rounds are going to burn your glutes so good and so bad. So basically it's 4 sets of 6 reps. So you perform 6 reps of hip thrust, you wait 10 seconds, perform another 6, wait 10 seconds, perform another 6, wait 10 seconds, perform another 6, and trust me, by that last like 2 sets, your bum is hurting, but they grow your glutes so well. So yeah, different ways to increase your intensity that does not involve increasing the weight you are lifting, because sometimes you physically cannot, right? And you have to find other ways to still progress and to push your muscles. Now, another way to progressively overload is improving your tension. Well, not improving, but increasing the time under tension of your muscles. So this is what I mean when I talk about tempo. So for example, if you find that you cannot increase the weight anymore, making sure that every rep you're performing with your exercises is really controlled, okay? So when you're squatting down, squat down in 3 seconds, control that weight coming down. You're going to be keeping your quads under tension for so much longer, and then pausing at the bottom. No momentum, you're literally stopped at the bottom and then you come up. That is going to be so much harder than you shooting all the way down and bouncing your way back up. So if you, for example, cannot increase the weight, increase the tempo, actually control the movement for a lot longer. My camera is giving me another mango break because it again overheated. I should probably go inside. That would be smart, but I'm clearly not smart here. So anyways, tempo is covered. My camera clearly had enough of tempo. So the next part is increasing your training volume. If you can squat 50 kgs, but you just cannot bump up the weight, what you could do is 50 kgs, say at 10 reps this week, try to increase the volume. Try to do 11 to 12 reps next time, and then try to do a little bit more next time until you get to a point where you can actually increase your weight. So again, not just looking at, oh, I have to be able to lift heavier, but perhaps just being able to squeeze out 1 to 2 more reps the next session. That is still progressive overload because you couldn't do that the week before at that weight. In addition to that, you could also increase the number of sets. For example, increasing the sets from 2 sets to 3 sets, because essentially volume is the amount of sets you're performing times the amount of reps you are doing per exercise. But again, it really comes down to looking at your programming and just making sure to find what works best for you. Because like some people will be like, oh, I'll just do 6 sets, you know, at 10 reps. And it's like, well, realistically, if you're doing 6 sets of a squat at say 50 kgs, you probably could do like 3 sets, drop it down to 2 sets even, and be doing it at like 70 kgs instead. Like if you have the energy and strength, do 6 sets of 10 reps. So this is why I suggest that if you are really serious about your training and you just really want to see efficient progress, it's so important to have a coach who knows how to design a program and how to create a resistance training program that's actually going to get you progressing dependent on your body and what works best for you. And another way to get yourself out of that mindset of being like, oh, I have to be able to lift more or else I'm not progressing, is to think about it this way. If you were able to progress on your weights every single week, imagine where you'd be in like a year's time. Like you'd probably be squatting buildings. You'd be squatting my freaking house, right? But that's not the case. Like none of us are out here squatting freaking cars and buildings, regardless of how long we've been training. And it's simply because naturally you're going to reach a limit. Like you're going to reach a point where you physically cannot push more weight, and that's when it's important to really tailor into your program and look at other areas that you can utilize to make sure you are still progressing and putting your muscles under more stimulus over time to make sure that they are essentially given a reason to grow. And finally, the last thing that I wish I knew and is so important, and I think is not talked about enough, is just focus on yourself. Comparison is going to be the thief of joy. Comparison is going to make you give up, because if you are sitting there scrolling through your social media again, looking at what others are doing, how does that benefit you at all? You know, like unless you can use that as motivation and be inspired by it, if you find yourself feeling negative after scrolling and comparing yourself, you have to remind yourself that everyone is on their own journey here. Your progress is your progress. Your journey is your journey, okay? You simply cannot compare your journey to anyone else, so stop focusing on anyone else, right? Like, it gives you nothing. You benefit nothing from having your limited energy drained on what someone else is doing. Make sure that you are focused on yourself. Like, that is the only thing that matters here. Where you are today versus who you were and where you were a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, okay? I already know that if you've started a fitness journey, if you're watching this video, you've already made more progress than who you were, you know, maybe a year ago, who perhaps didn't even have fitness goals, who didn't even take action to perhaps want to better themselves or to educate themselves, okay? So you already have made so much progress. So it is about focusing on yourself and just giving yourself credit for taking action, for getting started, for pursuing this, because it's not an easy journey. If it was an easy journey, everyone would be walking around like feeling and looking their best, right? And no one would ever be like, oh, why do I struggle to tone up, to lose weight, to build muscle? It is a difficult journey, but you can make it so much easier with the correct guidance, the correct program, and just making sure that you are going into it knowing the fundamentals and knowing exactly how to best use your time and training. So I hope that this was helpful, and these were definitely 5 things that I wish I knew and 5 things that I really try to make sure that all my clients do realize, because I think, you know, they're underrated. There's small things that perhaps we don't see being pushed out on social media because it's not the fanciest or the most exciting thing to talk about form over on Instagram, but it's so important for your progress. So if you found this useful, please make sure to give it a like, share it with someone who you think could really benefit from it, drop a comment on what kind of stood out to you and what else you would like to see in terms of content. If you are looking to level up your fitness journey this year, if you feel like you could really benefit from some support, guidance, a community, actually having a structured program in place so that you stay consistent and accountable, knowing, you know, 100% with confidence that what you're doing is exactly what you need to be doing. I am taking on a few more clients this coming month, so February. If you're interested, more than happy to give you some more information. Just message me coaching on Instagram, which is cz.fit, or if you want to just jump the gun and you're just ready to start, feel free to book in a call below and we can jump on call, kind of look at, you know, where you are right now, where you want to be, and how we're going to get you there this year. And other than that, have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!